Good evening and welcome. My name is Mulalo Nemataheni. I am a financial planner by profession, founder and CEO of EmpowerX Advisory Services. You're most welcome, and I do appreciate you taking the time to join us on tonight's session. I would just like you to use the chat functionality if you're able to, just to introduce yourself and where you're joining us from. And as I go through this presentation, we'll be able to recognize you, and we'll also use the chat functionality if you've got any questions now during the session. But after this presentation, we're going to take questions and answers at the end. So welcome. The presentation that we're going to be having tonight is part of the FPI, My Money 123. So it is the financial planning program or the financial literacy program, which is presented by the Financial Planning Institute of South Africa. And this program is simply to add value, and it's suited for a wide range of audience, starting from people that are still in high school, those that are planning for retirement, and everyone in between, really. And with this program, it can be offered to corporates, it can be offered to churches, Stockville members, group of friends, school groups, different investors. And when we do this in the workshop, we cover certain areas, which could be budgeting, debt management, savings, and that are looking to a session that is tailor-made to their needs, then we're able to tailor-make this for them. And there is no cost when one wants to have this session presented. So with this session, you can simply state that you've got a group of people that are interested, and then we make arrangements and come with the resources. So there's a handbook or a workbook that we offer, and also the budget planner for you to be able to record your expenses on a day-to-day basis that build up to this budget. It's 6 o'clock this side, so excuse the rooster announcing the time. So with this, we just want to make it an interactive session and also be able to engage. And the main aim of a financial literacy session is not to say that people are illiterate. The main aim is to help them improve on their knowledge, their skills, and also their confidence when it comes to dealing with money. And the Financial Planning Institute of Southern Africa, this is a professional body for financial planners, and they're the ones that are responsible for the FPI CFP designation, the Certified Financial Planner designation. So this is all about you. So it's financial planning and me, and I am a professional within the designation or within the professional body. And one might be wondering, what is a certified financial planner? And as the slide states, life is better with a certified financial planning professional. So a certified financial planner is someone who has gone to school, did their studies. So it can be an undergraduate. Okay, I see a note stating that someone cannot hear anything from their side. Okay, please connect to audio. Ugendo, on my side, it's showing that you're not connected to the audio. So from your phone or the laptop, on the bottom left side, there'll be a button for the mic. So you can click on that and then connect to audio. You'll be able to hear us. And I'll just check if you're sorted. But as I was saying, a financial planner is someone that has gone to school and studied either in a commercial space and also did their postgraduate studies in financial planning and has about 3 years experience or more in the financial planning space or financial services, and also signed a code of ethics where we abide by that code to say, hey, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to place the client first in all that we do. So we are proud to say that in all that we do, we act with honesty and integrity, and we want to understand the client's needs and goals first before we can even offer the services. And then the last thing, which is the main thing, is to place the client's interest first. And some people, when it comes to their experiences of financial planning or financial planners, even in places when I say I'm a financial planner, people are going to think, yo, we're going to get policies here. We're going to sign up for things that we don't even know if we need. So the part about understanding your needs and your goals, it's one thing that is part of the financial planning process that we follow when we offer you these services. So one might be asking themselves, where do I start? And this quote is very important because it says you can't always get what you want, but if you try, sometimes you might find what you need. It's on my Facebook. Okay. So you just might get what you need. So on this one, this is where you can see that there's things that we want and there's also things that we need. And it's very important that we know where do we want to start or where do we need to start, because needs and wants are different things, and needs are the things that we cannot live without, and needs are those things that are just extra, like desserts. So with your financial planning or financial literacy, there must be goals that you would like to achieve, and your goals must follow the SMART way of goal setting, where you are specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's realistic, and also timely. And if these elements are part of your goals that you want to achieve, then it becomes easier for you to work towards those goals. There's things that we call an emergency fund. And if we're speaking about an emergency fund, one should be able to say, okay, how much do I need to save for this emergency? Being able to measure it. So you're being specific to say it's a emergency fund. I want to measure it. If it's 3 times my expenses are 2,000 a month, so I need 6,000. And then is it achievable? And then now you check based on the way that I manage my finances, will I be able to achieve this? Is it realistic? And then you put a time frame as well. So for someone who would like to raise 6,000 for emergency, they can say, okay, I'll start by putting 500 Rand a month to ensure that it builds up, and over a period of 12 months, then I have that 6,000 as part of my emergency. So there's different goals, but with those goals, we need to be specific, we need to measure them, we need to ensure that we believe within our hearts that this is achievable, it's realistic, and always put a time frame so that we're able to go back to it and see if this is really something that we are working towards. So for today's session, this is part of personal financial management. I speak of financial literacy and I speak of financial planning. With financial planning, there's 6 different areas. The first one being personal financial management. And this session falls perfectly under personal financial management because the main aim is to be able to change those behavior where you are better able to manage your finances. The second one is tax planning. And I just want to appreciate, I saw Shilly Boy Motiba. So he is our tax expert, and thank you for joining us. He has approached me to say that would like to host a session where we unpack tax, and in such a way that you would understand it and see how best you can position your finances and be able to get the most out of it. So thank you very much for joining us tonight. And with that, he says, hi, everyone. Thanks, Mulalo, for the session. So with that, we're going to host a session in the near future with him presenting text in such a way that it's not something that you should be scared of, but something that you use it to your advantage. And with that, that is the second part of financial planning. The third one is risk planning. So we're looking at insurance, life cover, disability covers, your medical aid, the things that would answer the question, what if something were to happen? And then there is retirement planning, where we plan for the retirement, where we look at would I have sufficient capital at retirement so that I can be able to provide for the lifestyle that I want to live at retirement. And then there is also investment planning, where you're looking at different kinds of investment. So it can be you investing for your kids' education. We've got the perfect education plans for that. You can be you saying that I want a tax-free investment because I don't want to pay tax on my investments. So we're able to assist also in that to ensure that you are better positioned and have the best resources in place or the best product solutions that you can use. And then the last one that we're going to highlight as part of financial planning is that of wills and estate planning. So when you are talking wills and trust and transferring this wealth that we are building to the next generation, then there we are talking about estate planning. So there's personal financial management, there's tax planning, there's investment planning, retirement planning, risk planning, and then there's also estate planning. So now you might be saying, where do I start? There's something called my personal budget planner. And in personal financial planning, personal budget planner, my favorite word there is personal, because the way that you do your budget would never be the same with the next person. So it's personal to you. It speaks to your needs. It speaks to your wants. And what could seem like a need to me might seem like a want to you. So depending on where you are in your life stage, depending on where you are in your personal financial journey, then different things become different things. So there is a daily budget planner and a daily budget diary where you are keeping account of each and every single purchase that you are making, no matter how big and small. And in these conversations, we always told about the coffee, because people go and buy coffee every single day, but some of us don't even drink coffee. So now you must ask yourself, what is that one thing that you do or you spend on a day-to-day basis that seems so small? It can be lunch. And for some people, it can be airtime that you're buying every single day. And for some people, they will say, I only drink bottled water. And if it's that bottled water that you're buying every single day, how much is it coming to? Some people are addicted to other types of soft drinks. And when you see that things and then you record them on a day-to-day basis, you are able to see where your money is going. And if it's something that you want to continue with, you continue with it, but knowing where your money is going. And if it's something that you want to change, then you decide, okay, I'm changing this because I want to channel my money to a different direction. So in this, it's very important that you use your personal budget planner. So setting up your monthly budgets, using the daily budget diary. So if this was a physical workshop, I would have come through with the workbook, with the budget planner. But for those that have signed up, I will send you a mail with the workbook so that you see what this budget planner is going to look like. Make a copy or use that template to be able to put together your own budget planner and start keeping track of those transactions. In the physical material, then we've got an envelope at the back where you are able to keep track of those slips that you get when you buy from the different shops, so that at the end of the month or at the end of the period that you select, you sit with your bank statement, you have those transaction slips, and then you compare with your daily budget diary if you did that Dear Diary in terms of your expenses. This can take just 30 minutes or even an hour or even 2 hours once a month. Now I like calling these things triple M. So it's your monthly money meeting. So when I say triple M, you know you're not going to forget it because it's your monthly money meeting. And then with that, you can take 2 months bank statement or 3 months or even more, and also refer to the workbook for a practical example so that you can see how long back you can go and how to organize your expenses in such a way that it makes sense, because the number, there's always a story behind the number. So that is the first part on budgeting. And when I send through the handbook, you'll be able to see the format of the budget itself and how best you can put together that budget. We also have another session that we host around budgeting, taking you through the different expenses that one has, the different sources of income, how you can better manage your budget or ensure that you get the most from the budget, either by increasing your income or decreasing the expenses, and also go through a spreadsheet for budgeting. So that is another session that we can host around budgeting and take you step by step in terms of budgeting. So for tonight's section, the second building block that we're going to talk about is debt. And the truth about debt is that debt will hold you back. And people don't get to ask themselves, how did I get here? We just found ourselves there, but we never go back to say, hey, how did I end up in this kind of debt? And also this concept of good debt, bad debt, then people just say, yeah, but it was good debt. But when you assess, they're like, oh, really? Was it? And why is this debt not paying for itself? Because a good debt is something that is going to generate income, something that is going to be able to pay for itself, and either as a return from that investment that you've put in, or either as it allowing you to do something that will bring in the money. And then there is bad debt, which mostly can be found in products like your credit cards, but there's people that use the credit card in a way that it brings them more money. So that's why I say this is a personal journey, and we need to understand the kind of person that you are with money so that you can be able to decide whether it is a good debt or a bad debt. The other thing that we're going to look at is the cost of credit. And it's very important that we pause and think and make sense of the debt that we have. And if I say who has debt, it'll be difficult for people to raise their hands, but most people are in that bracket where they are living with debt every day. Other people would say, no, I'm not letting go of my debt because it brings convenience. Other people would say, I have this debt because there'll be an emergency where I'll need money, so I just keep my credit card handy. And we want to move from living in that way where provisions for emergency is the bank's money or other people's money, instead of us building the wealth and allowing for that emergency money to be our own money. And then when it comes to debt, it's not just the debt that you are paying for. So there's the installment that you pay, there's the interest, there's fees and insurance. And I make this practical example to say, there was someone that was owing money, and then they would pay 1,000 Rand every single month, only to find out that from that 1,000 Rand that they're paying, only 300 Rand is going back to repaying that capital. And then the 300 Rand has to do with the interest, the other fees, the insurance, and they couldn't believe it. So if you've got debt, I'm just going to give you a task today to say, go and find the statement for that particular debt, find out how much interest you're paying, and then from each and every installment or payment that you're making on a month-to-month basis, find out how much exactly is going to repaying the debt and where the other money is going. And when you have that information, it'll be easier for you to decide what you want to do with your finances. We talked about good debt, bad debt, and one thing that our people have fallen trap of is this payday loan or term loan or a short-term cash loan, those kind of things. And as you can see, this is part of bad debt. And until we realize that we've got the power to change the relationship we have with money and decide to better manage our finances, we'll always be stuck in this cycle. And then on this side, they show an example of a good debt. And I speak on this one because there's a lot of requests that people get when it comes to money. And some people would say, okay, you want 1,000 Rand, you bring it with 40%. Okay, I'll get it next week. Okay. And then now you're returning 1,400 Rand. And that 400 Rand That's a 40%. And yes, you would think you got the assistance that you need, but if you start looking back, sometimes it becomes a cycle and a trend. And then when you look at those 400 rand, you're like, yo, this person, you could have paid for like 5 million cover for these things, or you could have started investing for your kids' education. But because we are stuck here, then we keep on making this decisions or bad decisions over and over again. So with the cost of credit, if you go shopping next time, just look at the fine prints. They will say it's this amount, but you can pay a lower amount over at this period, and they'll give you the interest rate. So it's very important that you can even use the calculator on your phone, multiply this by this, and then you see the total that you're going to pay. And this won't be anywhere close to this 16% that they advertise, but the 16% is there, but there's other costs that you pay for, as I've indicated before. And if you do the cost of credit calculation, you can see that something that you thought you were going to charge 16% out of, then you end up paying 56% more on that. And something that you thought 16.8%, 164%, and then it can even go up to 170%, which you end up paying like double, almost double the amount that you would have paid had you bought that thing cash. And when it comes to calculating the cost of credit, you just take the installment amount, multiply it by the repayment term, so the number of months, divide your answer by the purchase price of the item, and then you will see how much more you are paying. So multiply by 100 to get percentage, you will see how much more you are paying. And if you do this small exercise before you decide to go on buying something on credit, you'll be able to see that I will be saving so much if I do not go and buy on credit. And in terms of making sense of your debt, I did mention, write your debt, how much you're owing, find out the interest amount, find out the monthly repayment, find out how much more term you've got. And you can also add more here to say, I want to find out how much in rent value it's actually going to the repayment of that debt. And then you will be able to decide which plan or which strategy you are using in terms of getting out of debt itself. So the last one for my presentation here, before we go to the questions and answers, an engagement, because I would also love for you to share your experiences when it comes to money and the financial literacy, the financial decisions that you have to make on a day-to-day basis. So the financial building block, the third one that we're talking about, which is the third and last one for this evening, it's savings and investment. So there is cash money where we go and save and other people go and invest. And sometimes we say we want to invest money for like 6 months, and then the time frame for investments is anything longer than 12 months. And if we're saying we're saving, then the time frame will be anything up to 12 months. So you can't say that, hey, I've got an investment and then I've been investing there and it's 3 months, but my term there is 6 months. So that's a saving. And with that, it also speaks to where the money is sitting. And there's also the concept of risk and return. Most people think the higher the risk, the higher the return. But it's actually the higher the risk, the higher the potential return. So it's important that you get this wording right and how it affects you on your day-to-day. So I spoke about the time frame for your saving and for your investment, and then also the building blocks in terms of where exactly is my money sitting. And inflation is the increase in the food prices and other things that you buy on a day-to-day basis over a period of time. And the concept of risk and return, time is a factor that you need to consider when you are choosing where your money is going or what asset classes your money is being invested in. Cash savings, there's bonds, there's property, there is shares or equity, there's offshore investments. And those things, one can go and invest on them individually directly. Like when you put your money in the bank, then it's sitting here in cash. If you're going to, for example, the retail bonds, then you go put your money here. If it's property, it can be physical property, or you invest in companies that have shares in property businesses. And then equities, it's shares. So you are buying shares from different companies. And then offshore, that's when you are investing your money offshore. And with that, the level of risk increases as the different asset classes. So most people would say, no, I've got investments. I'm investing in shares. They're sitting here. And then there is risk involved with that, but they didn't assess that risk. And then they didn't also make use of some of these asset classes where they can get the most return from their money without even incurring unnecessary risk. So there is risk when you're investing, and then there's also something we call unnecessary risk. And depending on the kind of investor that you are and the expected return from those investments, then you are best able to choose which investment you would like to put your money in. And with investments, there is the effect of compound interest. So compound interest, it's when your money has interest, and interest also earns the interest. So here there's an example of two investors where one invests for a period of 10 years and then they stop investing. However, their money continues growing. And then at the end, they have more money compared to the one who only started 10 years later, but invested for a longer period of time, and then starting with a higher amount of investment. So if you start investing early, your interest has time to also earn interest and make you more money. Inflation, we could buy more with less money, but now with that same amount of money, you can't even fill a trolley. So we see this every single day. Okay, I just saw a question. We'll attend to it. We're almost done with this. So you at times not able to even buy or fill a plastic bag with 200 rand. And the 200 rand is still the same 200 rand. And there was a joke in the past few months where someone was saying, why are people complaining about petrol prices? Because if I go and say I want 200 rand worth of petrol, they're still going to pour me 200 rand worth of petrol. But it's not the same quantity that you get. So you get less in terms of the liters that you would have got had the price was less per liter. So if you want an example on inflation, just look at the petrol price, just look at the price of bread itself. We pay 19 rand now for bread. We used to pay like 7 rand when I was younger. And when some of you were younger, even like 3 rand or 2 rand. So over time, these things increase. And when you are saving and investing, you must look at the time frame and also set goals. So you can have goals for your short term, your medium term, your long term, and also create an emergency fund, and also look at your retirement planning to say, what kind of life do I want to live at retirement? And another thing that I want to stress around the goals is that this is something that we preach everywhere we are. And we also have stokvels where it's savings clubs or it's saving stokvels where before you even say you want to start saving with us, we tell you, what is your goal? Because we don't want you to just continue saving money without a direction or something that is pulling you to stay disciplined and allow you to save for those particular goals. So goal setting is very important. You must know, what do you want to do with the money? When are you going to need this money so that you can see where exactly to put this money? I spoke about retirement. So it's all about choices everywhere. You can be this lady here who just wants to travel now when she's still young, or you can be this older one here who says, hey, for me, I want to travel and do all these things when I'm older. So it's up to you. You decide where you want to, how much you need to save for the retirement, and what lifestyle you would like to live at retirement. And as I said, your plan will never be the same as the next person. So someone might be thinking, I want a bigger house now. And someone who can say, no, I want a smaller house now so that I can travel. And someone can say, hey, when I'm older, I want a bigger house. Or when I'm older, I want a smaller house. So it's up to you, but at the end of the day, you must have a plan that speaks to your needs and your wants, as we indicated in the beginning. And this is just to show the percentage of money that you need to save for retirement to ensure that you are able to replace 75% of your income now. So if you're 25, at least save 17%. And if you are 30, 22%. If you are 35, 30%. If you are 45, 59%. And this is to show, if you look at your benefit statement at work, they are not saving these percentages for you. So you should be able to do the calculations. And if you need assistance in terms of doing these calculations, we're happy to assist so that we can see where you are sitting when it comes to your plan for retirement and how best you can ensure that you make provisions for the time when you are about to retire. And going forward, I would encourage you to get your monthly budgets in order, and in everything that you do, ensure that you reduce and manage your debt. And if possible, just live a debt-free life and improve on your savings, and also set those short-term, medium-term, and longer-term goals. And yeah, thank you very much for this time and for taking the time on a Monday evening to come and engage when it comes to financial literacy. And there's also a website that the FPI has put together in terms of where you can find more information around financial literacy. And we'll be happy to share those details with you as well, to ensure that you are always on point when it comes to your money. So thank you very much for taking the time. And I would just like for us to attend to the questions. So if you've got any questions, any comments, feel free to post them on the chat, and then we'll engage them as we go. And if you would like to use the voice to ask your questions or to comment or to add or to share on your journey, you're most welcome to raise your hand, and then I will note you and give you the opportunity to do that. It's 18:36 now. Okay, we still have time. So there's a question there. It says, good evening. Suppose I have a credit with a bank and I'm paying 2,000 Rand per month. Some month I got some cash, maybe 7,000. How does this affect my interest I'm paying? Okay, so with bank products, depending on what product you are in, then there will be different implications, and depending on what you tell the bank when you pay in the money. So the question just said, I have a credit with a bank. Let's say, for example, this is a personal loan type of a credit. So with interest, you are charged interest on the money that is outstanding on the debt itself. So if you pay more into that credit that you have with the bank, it means that the amount that you owe the bank has decreased. And now they're going to start charging you interest on the money that is outstanding, the money that you've used or the money that you owe them. And the interest rate will remain the same, but the interest that you will pay will be less because now you owe less with the bank. And that's why we always encourage that if you've got extra money, then it's better for you to pay into the debt, because now you are being charged that interest on a lower amount, and it allows you to finish paying your debts in a shorter term compared to the term that has been stipulated on that contract. Johanna says, thank you very much for the insightful session. Does it make sense to settle your car, or should one just continue paying monthly? This question is similar to the previous question, and you are getting charged interest on what is outstanding. So if you don't want to pay more interest going forward, if you've got the money, I would say pay off the debt so that you don't get charged more interest going forward. And you are allowed to pay off the debt. You are allowed to live a debt-free life. That term that they give you when you take that credit is just to say, looking at your affordability, or let's try and make things standard so that people can pay a smaller amount over a longer period of time, and also allow us as financial institutions to continue charging you interest and make more money in terms of the other costs that are associated with that. Thank you, Mulalo, for this session. As a financial planner, do you advise your clients to pay more on their car monthly installments to reduce or pay up the vehicle loans amount quicker? It's like everyone wants to pay off their car. And yeah, like any other debts, I would say do pay and ensure that you are better positioned to use your money for other things. And even when we are doing this, there is different goals that people should have in place. And the very first one that I speak about is that of having an emergency fund. And then secondly, to pay off debts. And then the third one that I put at the list is having an opportunity fund. So if you are still continuing paying the money on a month-to-month basis, now you are saying the money that I could have used if there's an emergency, or the money that I could have used if there's an opportunity, a part of it, I want to give it to the financial institution in the form of interest. So it's important that you have your plan in place. And I'm not saying that go and take the money on your emergency fund or your opportunity fund and pay it to your debts, because I know people who have done that, and then now there is an emergency. They no longer have debts, but they don't have money. So they were forced to go back and source short-term debts that were so expensive, more expensive than the interest that they were paying on the debt that they had. So it must be a flexible plan, but a plan that allows you to be able to meet any other needs that may arise. How can I pay off the bond in 5 years? It's putting money into the bond. And the tricky part with the bond is that you can pay in the money and then they tell you, no, you should be able to come and access that money. So the money is just sitting there and then you can be able to access it. You've got an option of paying that money and telling them to work it out into the bond and ensure that you don't have access to it, and then you want it to reduce the installment amount, or to reduce the capital amount. You can keep the installment as is, so that now you are paying higher than what you would be paying if your capital had remained higher. So it's better for you to always communicate with the financial institution to say, hey, I'm putting in this money. I want it to work for me. I want it to remain there because my plan is for me to pay off this quicker, instead of saying, put it there, but when I want it. You're always ensuring that you don't want to take yourself into temptation. And really lead us not into temptation, and we decide to go there ourselves. So yeah, thanks a lot for this eye-opening session. Thank you for making the time. And then there is a comment there. I've been reading Warren Ingram's Be Your Own Financial Advisor, and he speaks extensively about having an emergency account, which will basically cover your living expenses for 3 to 6 months. At first, when I read this, I found it to be so difficult because financially, it's already tough out here. But as I read the book and analyze my finances, I'm realizing how important emergency funds are, especially to ensure one's short-term living expenses are covered. How do you advise your clients to create and manage emergency fund? Thank you very much for that question. And for those that haven't read the book, I would say go and get the book, because these books allow us to be able to be better positioned when it comes to managing our finances, and also introduce concepts that if we're to hear when we're not ready, would think this is not possible. And when we set those goals, the realistic part, then we don't believe it. Then we don't follow through on the goal itself. So emergency funds are very important. And what I advise for people, depending on the kind of person that is looking to start this emergency fund, is to say, look at your finances, look at your behavior as an individual, because you want to put the money in a place where if there's an emergency, you should be able to get your money without incurring any fees or any penalties and extra charges for getting the money earlier. But most people tend to struggle with discipline when it comes to that. And I would say you can also have a savings account with a different bank compared to the one that you are using. And then with that, just have a monthly debit order that is taking money to that particular account. And then only when there's an emergency, that's when you go to that particular account. Because if you keep it all in one financial institution, one day you're going out, you're like, I can just transfer this money. And then now you go back in terms of having that that emergency fund that is 3 to 6 months. Yours only go to like a month, and then it goes back to zero. 2 months, it goes back to zero. So with most people, when it comes to managing the emergency fund, it has to do with the discipline. And then I got extra cash and I don't have savings, but I have debts. What can be your advice? Save, then pay after saving, or what? Okay. So when it comes to this one, I think at this point, this is where I should state that disclaimer that I should have said in the beginning, to say, please note that this is for information session, and the responses that I'm giving here, it's not advice based on your personal finances, because now we haven't gone through your experience when it comes to finances, your objectives, and then put a plan that will speak to you. So this is general information, and it's information that if you apply it will help you better manage your finances. So using the word advice there. So as I indicated, the first goal should be saving for emergencies. And the second one, it will be paying off debts. And the interest that you get charged on debt and the interest that you get rewarded in investments, if you compare those two, the answer will be there. You are most probably being charged more on your debts, and then the interest that you will earn on the savings will be less than the interest that you are paying. So if we just look at the numbers, would say, hey, pay off the debt and then save later. But if we come to reality, if you look at these things, you can say, what would happen if an emergency comes and I don't have savings for that particular emergency? You're going to end up in debt. And sometimes the debt that you might end up back in would be debt that has a higher interest compared to the interest that you are currently paying now. So it should be a flexible plan. It should allow you to be able to have provisions for emergencies and allow you as well to be able to service those debts. I did indicate that in debt, you are able to choose a specific strategy that you would like to follow when you are repaying the debt. So depending on how you would like to tackle this debt, then it becomes easier for you to be able to do a bit of both, or to say, I'm focusing on this now, and then, yeah, I'll use somebody else as my emergency fund. Um, Thank you so much for this important information. Just that since COVID pandemic, most of us were in terrible debt, but we will consider to use information received today, and hopefully you are ready to advise moving forward. Thank you very much for that comment. Yes, we are ready. As I indicated when I was still starting, we are running EmpowerX Advisory Services. And with EmpowerX, it's all about empowering you through financial information to ensure that you make decisions that are best for you, best for your family, and the next generation. So it is not just about the sessions, but it's about what do we do with the information that we've received. So we offer advice, so financial advice. And for us, we only charge 500 Rand for consultation. And if it's financial literacy, then we charge 250 Rand for a session. So with that, we're able to look at where you are, where you want to go, help you put a plan that will speak to your needs. And also you get to have like an accountability partner, because sometimes it becomes so difficult to be honest to yourself when it comes to money. But when you know that you've got someone that is walking the journey with you, then it becomes easier. And as a financial planner, what are your thoughts on stokvels? A very interesting question. So for me, depending on what the objectives are for the stokvel and what people are getting out of that community, then I will then be able to state my views when it comes to stokvel. And the very first one that I speak openly about and against is the rotational stokvel, where if it's 10 of us and then every single month we say we are contributing 1,000 Rand, and then this month Mulalo gets 10,000. She's happy, the stokvel was playing for her. And then the next month, Renaya gets 10,000. The next month, Dr. Mtikita gets 10,000. Then where I am as the first person who's received the money, I've just created a short-term debt for myself. Now I've got a monthly installment that I need to pay, because next month I need to pay 1,000 Rand to you. The following month I pay 1,000 Rand to the next person. The other month I pay 1,000 Rand to the other. So now I no longer enjoy this journey. I no longer enjoy stokvels. Sometimes it breaks relationships. I no longer take your calls because, hey, you want your money, and now you start seeing me as this person who is ungrateful because I've received the money and now I no longer want to give other people. And with this, or the work that we do, we want to liberate people financially as well, to say, let's not go and chain ourselves. Let's allow ourselves to use stokvels to our advantage. With us, the stokvels that we run, it's saving stokvels, where I state, for me, I want to be able to go on a holiday, and I'm only going to need 6,000 for the holiday. So I decide that every month I'm going to put away 500 Rand. And if there's another month where I've got 1,000 Rand, I put in 1,000 Rand. If there's another month where I only have 100 Rand, I put in 100 Rand. It has to do with me and my personal journey and my personal goals. Then I can have another person saying, nah, I want 100,000 Rand. Then they work back to say, within this community, I want to be able to save this much. So this motivates us within the community of the stokvel. And it's a good space where you're sitting and you get a notification to say so-and-so has invested this much. And it encourages you and also reminds you to say, hey, happy I'm on this journey. So a stokvel, it's a very good community where people are able to encourage one another around saving, around investing, and also creating wealth to the next generation. So I am for a stokvel as long as there is a goal attached to it. If people are saying with this particular stokvel, we want to be able to go and buy groceries. That is a goal that they have set for themselves. And last year, when other people went grocery shopping for their stock fell, and then they had boxes of pizza, they had cold drinks. Some people were laughing at that. For me, I was like, I love pizza. I would go and join that particular stock fell because it does the things that I love. And they had a common goal and they saved for it. And you will find that some people that were laughing didn't even have money to go and buy pizza. They didn't even save up to go and buy groceries. And then now we've got other people saying, we are saving in this stokvel, we want to buy property. As long as the people that are part of that stokvel have a common goal and they each understand what this community is doing together, and then now we are able to encourage one another and save more. So that is my view on the stokvel. If there is any more questions or anyone that would like to come in and unmute and share their thoughts on the session, then they're most welcome to do that. Okay, I don't see any hand or anyone unmuting or anyone. So from my side, I would just like to say thank you all for taking the time on a Monday morning or on a Monday evening to come and say, let us come together and share about financial literacy and also help each other in terms of understanding and improving where we are when it comes to our finances. So from this, one might be wondering what is going to happen next. Okay, I'm just checking if we've got people that were not part of those that signed up for the session. I'm gonna stop sharing, and then I will share the link on the chat. So if you did not sign up or register for this session, please go through that link and just add your name, your contacts, and then we'll always keep in touch. We are building a community of people that are saying we are, oh yes, yes, we are building a community of people that are saying we want to use our power and we want to ensure that we are winning when it comes to our finances. So this is a decision that one needs to make for themselves, and nobody else will be able to make that for you. We have a mailing list that we are building, and this will be to share information around finances and also the services that we offer and how best we can assist you when it comes to managing your finances. At the moment, we have about 90 people on that mailing list. So you'll be joining a community of people that are saying we are pro financial literacy, and then we want what is best for ourselves. When is the next session and what topic? We want to keep these sessions on Mondays, so Monday evening, so that it's easier for you to diarize it or block out the time on your calendar. So with that, we want to have the sessions on Monday evenings, and if possible, depending on the people that would like to attend, we can also have them on Monday morning, like 10 o'clock. And with this, the next topic, the session that we were supposed to have 2 weeks back was around wills and trusts. So we are engaging with our speaker for that session, who will be sharing on wills and trust. And we also are waiting a date from Mr. Motiba when it comes to tax. So as soon as we secure the date, then we'll communicate as well. So by being part of this community, when we have the sessions, we're able to share with you, and then you're most welcome to come and join us. and hear information that will benefit you. So thank you very much. And thank you, Renaye, for saying thank you for the session. And I wish you well and have a lovely evening. Thank you.